Hey everybody, Matthew here with MEB Pod. Today I have some huge news. I've officially got my first guest on on my podcast. So we're gonna try to dive into that pretty quickly. I will do my birdie and my double bogey here. Of course, my birdie is the fact that I've got my first guest on my episode. Absolutely huge. Double bogey is, I really can't have one this week. It's been a pretty good week overall. Looking forward to just trying to edit this podcast out. Hopefully, it turns out okay. It won't be perfect, I promise you that. So, for all my followers and listeners and subscribers out there, please tune in. It's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully, like I said, it pans out the way I want it to. I'm not expecting perfect, but hopefully I can get onto this editing thing pretty well. At least hang on to a few things and learn a few things and kind of teach myself as I go. So, well, with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome my father here, and let's go. Let's get to it. So again, welcome Matthew here. Finally got my first guest on. I got my father, who more or less inspired me to do this podcast and play around a golf in all 50 states. He is doing a mission or a journey or somewhat similar to mine to run a marathon or half marathon in all 50 states. I am not the runner type. My mother and father are, so they kind of are doing it together. Maybe one time we can get mom on here, and I know she'll be a nervous wreck as much as I am to do something like this. You're a little bit more better with your words than mom and myself, I'm sure. So, but I do have a few questions here to ask you about your running.
Sure.
Um, First and foremost, let's start from the beginning. What, I guess, in the beginning motivated you to start running?
Well, I was pushing 40 years old and having you and you were one of our four children, so just the typical at that time of my life, just running you guys to games and school and all sorts of things. I thought to myself, geez, mom and I need to somehow get back into shape. And I've always wanted to run a marathon. That was on one of my bucket list things to do. And actually, one of my coworkers started training for a marathon, a person who didn't look like she was a marathoner. And she just kept running and running. And all of a sudden, she went down to Disney World and did the Disney Marathon and completed it. And I'm like, gosh, if she can do something like that, I think I can too. So this is going back a ways, but it was in 1999. So my goal was to run a marathon before the year 2000 hit and before I turned 40. So in 1999, I trained for 6, 7 months and completed the Chicago Marathon that year. And I think in the background, right there, mom put together a medal with my photo as I completed the marathon. And afterwards, I felt horrible. It was 26.2 miles is a long way. But a couple days after that, I thought, boy, I kind of like to do that again. And mom started running in the meantime. And 3 months later, we came down to Orlando and did the Disney World marathon. So we kind of got hooked and we've been sort of running on and off ever since. And in the meantime, I wound up finding about this club who people actually would run a marathon in every state. I'm like, boy, that's a pretty hefty goal. But, all of a sudden we did another one in Ohio, we did another one in Missouri. And so I'm like, gosh, four down, 46 to go. So that kind of got us going. And for some reason, we're still on the trails and roads running and running. So we're still at it.
Oh, very nice. So that kind of answers my second question, which was essentially what is your end goal, or what was the goal at the beginning when you first started? I guess back in 1999, you kind of found out this club, I guess, more or less, and it, continue motivating yourself to keep going. And I know mom kind of jumped in on the bandwagon
Yeah,
too,
she's
which was
doing great.
really neat to see, and it's I tell people I work with, and they're like, "Well, how old are your mom and dad?" I said, "Well, early 60s now," and they said, "Wow," and they're running marathons. I said, "Well, they're more or less they're doing half marathons, and they're doing they choose the real pretty ones and around national parks, and they kind of travel and like to see what the country of the United States has to offer around." So it kind of really got me going and excited to see the country itself in its own different aspect with golf courses and everything. So, um, what are some of the biggest challenges that come along to complete all 50 states? Because I know we're not there yet, but I know for me, it might be like finances or time or whatever it might be. But to you, what are the biggest challenges?
Well, you're correct in saying those two. Finances are a big thing. It's not cheap to get to some of these places. Luckily, where we live in St. Louis, we're kind of like smack dab right in the middle of the country. Versus you, it takes how many hours for you to just drive out of the state? Is it like 6 or
I think it's 8.
8 hours just to leave the state of Florida? Here, we're like, what, 25 miles from Illinois? So we can actually get to a bunch of different states pretty doggone easily. So it's a little cheaper, I guess, that way. And the one little difficulty more about running is like I actually met you last fall up in Massachusetts, and you were able to get New Hampshire and Massachusetts out of the way in a span of, was it one day?
Yeah, I mean, I could have
Yeah,
done. I,
you did New Hampshire in the morning, I think, and then played a round of golf in Massachusetts, where when we run, 13 miles or 26.2 miles, it's like, okay, our bodies need a break. So it's
just
not like, hey,
go
today
on.
we're doing Missouri, tomorrow I'm going to do another one in Illinois, the next day we're going to Indiana. It's a little rougher on, especially when you hit your mid 60s, it's a little bit more difficulty for recovery time. But those are pretty much the challenges. Plus, mom and I still work full time and just trying to get the time off. And somehow we manage, 4 trips a year. So that's kind of a cool thing. So, yeah, those would be actually our challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. With the golf, at least you can ride a cart at most courses. For
Right.
example, when I do fly up to Seattle, Chambers Bay is a walking only course. So they say there it is about 7.2 miles of walking for your
Wow.
average golfer, which I don't think I'm an average, maybe average to above average golfer. So my balls aren't going to be going straight down the middle of the fairway every time. So I might be walking a little more than 7.2 miles
Right.
on all the hilly terrain. But again, I am younger too, so it is a little easier on my body than it might be for someone of your age, which um,
Sure.
kind of brings me to my last question, I guess. It's um, for the beginners runners out there, the ones that, he might listen to this podcast who do want to get into running and see the country as like yourself, what to take on all 50 states? Is some maybe advice that you would give to the beginners, or maybe they don't want to take on 50 marathons in 50 states, but they just want to try one marathon, or whatever it is. But what is just a little bit of advice you might give into the beginner runners?
Well, typically when mom and I go out, we're at the stage of our lives where we just want to enjoy ourselves. We take tons of photos. I have a GoPro, and one of these days in the very near future, going to get my YouTube channel going. But we take videos of all the trips. We eat it. When in Rome, as people say, you eat the foods of the region. We do different hikes while we're in those regions, and mom and I don't, and a lot of people my age and even younger, we don't run the entire 13 or 26.2 miles. We do a run walk program where we walk X amount of minutes and then run X amount of minutes. And if we see a big hill coming, we'll walk up the hill. If we see a long downhill, we're gonna, that's when we're gonna start jogging or running again. So the main thing, most people think you have to run them all, and you don't have to. Our medals at the end, when we receive our medal at the end, it's the same medal as what the winners get. So, we are out to enjoy the area, the region. Again, we take photos. We have, whatever the region has to offer, we do. And I know you've been doing a lot of that on your golf trips. You don't not necessarily only golf, but you're actually also a MLB enthusiast, and you're trying to hit all the parks. So that real, I know you really enjoy doing that too. It's just not about golf, it's about eating some really neat foods on the road and seeing what the region offers. So, most young folks think they have to run and then they have to win. And you know what? You're always, I don't care if you're 25 years old, there's going to be some 65-year-old who winds up beating you in a race. And no one really cares. It's up to you and how you feel. And really, life's too short to worry about things like that. You just have to go and enjoy and just have fun.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Just going out there, I'm not shooting under par, around in my rounds of golf. I'm just out there to have a good time and enjoy what the city or whatever might have to offer. And that being said, I know you and Mom have done, I don't know what, I think I saw you posted something about 2,000 or something 1 mile every day for 2,000 straight days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I believe that might be play a part or a role into the beginners too. You don't have to run 26.2 miles every day. You can run 1 mile here, 1 mile there, and you've got a really neat job where you get to travel for work. Granted, it's not you're not going to Division 1 schools or whatever it is. So you're going to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, and running that mile there and taking pictures of silly things like water towers that has the city on it or whatever it might be. But it is kind of neat because you get to go to a lot more places than maybe the Division 1 athletic trainers. The University of Missouri gets to go to Tuscaloosa and Florida, Gainesville, and all these big cities, and you're in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, which I think is kind of neat because not many people get to go visit those Kearney, Nebraska, or wherever it is. And I just know that might be a good place for beginners to start too. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And again, luckily, we just actually transformed or transferred into Division 1. So we are a Division 1
Oh
school
yeah,
now. We're on a smaller,
here,
scale
Ohio.
Division 1 school. But I think some of my trips, and I've probably been in, I don't know how many big cities in our country. Probably 85% of the big cities in our country I've been to or visited, not just hit the airport and go, but, sat and visited there. But I'm really enjoying more of and I used to go to Kearney, Nebraska a lot, and Edmond, Oklahoma, and, just little tiny, smaller towns across the country that whenever I see something that when I'm out on my run or out walking or hiking, if I see something weird, we've taken photos of it, and it's like, how many other people in the country will see this? A lot of people go to New York City and a lot of people go to Los Angeles, but how many people really go to Terre Haute, Indiana? For a weekend, not many folks. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of fortunate to see a lot of big cities in my lifetime, and I'm also fortunate enough to see a lot of smaller towns that I think are just as interesting.
Absolutely. I think that's really neat to, kind of put these cities on the map too, that no one rarely goes to visit for vacation. Now, granted, you're going for work, but you like to see what the city has to offer of, these
Right.
small ones, which kind of transitions into my first official draft or top five, however you want to call it, with my father. Now we actually have someone. So I want to do where I'll give, obviously, you're the guest today, and me being the host, I want you to go first. So you'll draft one, or you can, I guess, I'll let you choose. You can go one, and then I'll pick two, and then you pick two, and then I'll pick one, and then you pick, or whatever. It'll go,
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out as we go. So what I wanted to do today, kind of since we just started talking about visiting these little cities, I want to transition into your top five travel destinations. Um, I decided to go with just places that I've been. Now, I do have maybe next week I could do places that I want to go. Like I won't be able to put Seattle on there just because I've never been. But I just kind of picked five travel destinations that I've been to. And a lot of this is pretty recency bias. So just because I mean I've kind of started this whole podcast travel series as of recent. So I'm sure you obviously probably know a little bit about my trips and where I've been, whatever. But so a lot of them are recency bias, and you obviously, as you said, you've been to 85% of the bigger cities, at least in the United States. So you're a little bit older, so you've traveled a lot more than I have. So I'd like to hear from your top five. We'll start at number one and go on with your five. Five being your least favorite travel destination. Now, obviously, you're probably going to enjoy it, but uh, at number one, you can start at number one, and we'll go to number five. Now, if you choose something, and I can't go and choose it. So I had a few extra just to, for
Sure.
whatever reason. So I'll let you start, and then just a little tidbit on why you chose certain city
Okay.
state as your number one.
When you asked me about this question yeah, I think it was yesterday when we were on the phone, we thought that this might be the topic, and I started to think to myself, wow, this is a hard decision. It's kind of like the golf courses when you ask what your favorite golf course is, each one is kind of uniquely different, where it's kind of, wow, that's cool, but um, and in no particular order, I guess. I'm going to choose your hometown as my first pick, Miami.
Oh,
We're biased because you live there and we get to come visit you. So that's one
okay.
reason Mom and I come down there. Um, and these are all going to be actually running destinations, not necessarily vacations, but places where we have done a run or a race. Since you've lived down there, this past fall or past spring we came down and did the Miami Half Marathon, which was absolutely amazing, where it kind of starts in Brickell and ends in Brickell but goes to Miami Beach. But that race was that absolutely super great. There's so many pluses in the town that you live in. It's a very diverse community. You have beaches there. The weather is always, it seems to be always great. You live there, so you could probably say more about that. But whenever you see on TV here in the rest of the United States, Miami always portrays themselves as the beautiful weather. Of course, you can get those big heavy winds once in a while in the early fall or late summer, but luckily you haven't had to live through a hurricane yet. But the food the food is fantastic down there, and mom and I always enjoy coming down for some of that Cuban cuisine, which is fantastic food. But there's so much stuff to do down there. You got so many you got pro football, baseball, basketball, and you got a fairly good hockey team down there too.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, there's so much. There's soccer. There's again the beaches. There's the big cruise port. If you enjoy fishing, even the last time we actually did a hike. Remember, you took Mom and I to the Everglades, and we actually did a mile on the Florida Trail, the southern terminus of the Florida Trail, which actually goes all the way to Pensacola. And in this trail, within a half mile, we were knee deep in water, and we saw alligators. We saw an eastern diamondback rattlesnake. It's such a neat area that if anybody who's watching hasn't been to the Miami area, you need to try to get down there. It's a great town. Downtown, the Brickell area is very clean. And again, we've done so many races down there, one in Melbourne, one in Cocoa, actually down in the Keys, Key West, we've done one as well as Orlando. But Miami is probably my number one, and mainly because you're there. So,
Yeah. I guess it's hard to, yeah, lot of different cultures down here. When you live here, you might think differently sometimes, but
you're right.
you
Yeah,
know,
right.
yeah,
Until you live there, you don't know.
yeah. I mean, home is home, you just gotta, but I'll kind of dive into mine. Number one, probably Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I did go up to visit you more or less and play golf, and and drove up to New Hampshire, that whole New England area. To me, I don't know why, I just thought it was one of the neatest places I've been to. I was able to catch a game at Fenway Park. And it probably, I don't know if it's just my age or I'm getting older and appreciating things more for what they are. The history behind that whole stadium. I was the first, I don't know why, but I got the chills when I walked into the grandstand, saw the Green Monster. I started to tear up a little bit, which was a really, really odd. Um, I got to sit on top of the Green Monster during the game. I mean, if it wasn't so cold, I probably could see that as my home. It was just it has a lot of history behind it with the whole, Boston Tea Party, all that kind of stuff, which was really neat. The whole downtown area, they're very passionate about their sports when it comes to their Celtics and their Red Sox and their Bruins and obviously the Patriots. They're very, they've had a rich history when it comes to their sports teams, which obviously I'm a very big fan of. I don't see that very often down here in Miami. With their passion for their teams, maybe the Dolphins just being as bad as they've been as of recently. They haven't won anything in so long. It's just hard to see, as I guess it's hard down here to get so many different cultures melted into a fan base, where at least at home in St. Louis, you can get a fan, it's Cardinals and Blues, you got pretty much everyone is supports them. They might not go to the games as much as they used to, at least when I was younger, from what I'm hearing. But in Boston, it seemed as bad as the Boston Red Sox were that last year or whatever, or when I went, the year I went, they were still had a packed house, still swinging Sweet Caroline after the seventh inning, which was really neat. The food was great. Got some lobster rolls. Just a bunch of, like I said, I could see that being my home one day if it wasn't so darn cold during
Yeah.
the winters when it's 65, 75 and sunny down here in Miami just on Christmas and people are swimming in the pool. It's hard not to beat that. But that kind of just brings me here with number one. It's probably my favorite travel destination so far. But I will, since I'm going next, I'll go to um, Las Vegas. I mean, it's hard to beat that city. That city is just I'm a big fan of the people watching, and if you like to do that, that is one city you will see some strange people in, just trying to make an extra dollar. Obviously, you have the casinos and the hotels, everything's lit up and beautiful. I did was able to go see a show at the Sphere, which I don't think you've been able to go do that yet, but that was definitely one thing that I think, when you do go visit Vegas again, which I'm sure you'll be back out there for whatever reason, definitely highly recommend going to the Sphere. I was able to go play a round of golf at the Wynn which is, if you haven't seen it, or I know a lot, they do every year, they do like a celebrity golf tournament out there. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes played, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson there. Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake host an event there every year, I believe. And then which was just an absolute beautiful of a course. Everything was in pure condition. And I was able to go play at Bali High golf course, which is at the end of the strip, which is it's like basically a Vegas golf course, anything you can expect. A desert oasis course in the middle, or oasis in the middle of the desert, palm trees. You can see the Mandalay Bay and what do they call the Oakland Raiders call their stadium, the Black Hole, or not the Oakland
Yeah.
Raiders, it's the Vegas Raiders now.
Right. Right.
You could see the
Black
state
hole.
the Raider Stadium from the strip from the golf course, which was really neat. And obviously, when it comes to food, it's Vegas. You can find anything and everything out there. Every celebrity chef has or a kitchen out there. Every celebrity has some type of, I mean, if you haven't been to Vegas, definitely need to go. I mean, that's just got to be on my list. I had some other cities on my list, and then almost forgot about Vegas, but that's just it's got to be one of my favorite cities that, I just can only limit myself to go there once every 5 years because of, you can't only, I can spend more money there in 3 days than I can in a month here with rent included down here in Miami, so that'll be my number two. So I'll let you go with I guess your two and three.
Yeah, and if anybody hasn't seen it, Matt has a great photo of on that wind course with the sphere in the background. And is it one of the minions' eyes
Oh
on
yeah,
the sphere looking at you?
well,
Looks
it's
like an
actually the
intimidating shot.
it's not a minion, it's the emoji, the smile, it's one of the
Oh, okay.
emojis, but it's yellow because it does look like a
Okay,
minion.
okay, okay. It wasn't a
Yeah,
minion, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, and we love Vegas too. It's just a cool town, and you really don't even have to gamble. There's so much cool stuff to see and do down there. But anywho's, I'm going to go on with my next choice. Um, we had a trip last year that we went to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is up in northern Idaho. And I remember on one of your posts, you actually put there's a golf course right on the lake where one of the holes, is it a floating hole, I think?
Yeah,
Uh,
floating green.
yeah, the green is out onto the lake, and
Yep.
it's a beautiful hole, but it's a little tiny town packed away up in the Pacific Northwest. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but the best man in our wedding, mom and I's wedding, Bill Pointer, he actually lives in Coeur d'Alene, and he's like, we kind of hope no one ever figures us out up here because we don't want this place to be overrun with lots of folks. But it's a quaint little northwest town. The trees are tall. It is so green up there, and the course, the where we ran, it's probably 70% of it is along the Lake Coeur d'Alene. They actually have the longest floating bridge, walking bridge there that mom and I kind of walked around on. And there's a lot of great hiking trails up there. We actually took a photo of our medal with the lake in the background, but just it's a part of the country that it's very difficult to get to, and not a lot of people think about going to Coeur d'Alene. And it's not far from the Canadian border. It's right on the border of Washington, like Spokane and the Spokane city, Spokane area, and Idaho. But the area is just beautiful. And one of my favorite things I've ever done on a trip, mom found this alpaca farm, and we went to go to this alpaca farm, and it was the coolest thing. We got to feed the alpacas, and some of them reminded me of who, our black lab Riley.
Yeah.
She loved up here, but the weather at that time, it was late May. It's like Memorial Day weekend is the race, and the area is gorgeous. And they say kind of like Coeur d'Alene opens on Memorial Day weekend and shuts down on Labor Day weekend because it's very north. It's a very wooded area, lots of snow, but when we were there, it was drop dead gorgeous, and we would absolutely love to go back to Coeur d'Alene again. So
Okay.
that was my number two choice. My third one actually is the Grand Tetons Half Marathon. On that same trip, we drove down to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I don't know why this is one of my favorite national parks. I've always seen the mountains in the background. It literally looks like you're in Switzerland. The town square in Jackson they're covered with like moose antlers. It's the coolest thing. It's a flat course, and it's absolutely beautiful. If anyone has never been to the Tetons or Grand Tetons National Park, highly recommend it. And we did see a moose while we were there. So,
Miss,
what are your
Miss,
choice? What's your next choice?
so I'm gonna go to take Manchester in London, England. Just to be able to travel across the pond and it was one of the neatest things, a nice long flight, 9 hours direct flight from Miami to London, which was really a little different adventure that I'm not used to, those long flights. But once I got there, I was excited to go explore just the culture of London. It's a completely different world than over here in the States. And their train system is wonderful. I wish the United States could figure something out like that where I can just hop on a train and go to any city. Now we do have little trains everywhere, every now and then, or every once in a while around here. But it was able to hop from London to Manchester to go to a football match. Yes, it's not soccer. I have to call it football because over there in London, they'll get a little aggravated if you call it soccer. But I was able to catch a Red Devils game up in Manchester. It was United versus Everton. I hopped in a pub and ate some breakfast. Their breakfast over there is a little different than what it is mine over here. I had some sunny side up eggs with some baked beans and some mushrooms, and it was definitely a different experience. Sat down with some random Englishman, he was a United fan, just reading the newspaper, offered to buy me a pint at 8 in the morning. It was just everyone was very friendly and polite and was like, as long as you were wearing the right colors of the team you were supporting, I don't think anyone will bother you. I don't think it's like as bad as it used to be back there in England. Um, but like I said, I'm trying to speed this up, so I'm going to dive into my next pick. Or no, then you get two, and then I have to finish with two.
Okay. My last two, I'm going to go with Deadwood, South Dakota. There's a half marathon and marathon out there called the Deadwood Mickelson Trail. It's run on an old railroad system. Absolutely a great course because it's actually all downhill. And they bus you 13 miles out or 26 miles out, dump you off, and you got to run back to Deadwood. But the cool thing about Deadwood is it was a town from the old gold rush area where you think when you get to Deadwood, you're back in the wild, wild west where there's the old saloon doors, and it's where Wild Bill Hickok was shot too. So they actually have his chair that he was sitting in the saloon where he was at. But the in the Black Hills out that area, it's absolutely gorgeous. Most of South Dakota is flat or like farmland, and then all of a sudden you get to the Badlands, and it's drop dead gorgeous area. And we did get to see, we did go into Badlands National Park, and Mom and I took the Notch Trail, and I'll send you a photo of that. But it looked like you were on Mars. It was not like the United States of America, just the way that area of the country is. And the last one is Corning, New York, which is upstate New York, completely different than New York City. It's in the Finger Lakes region. And the course there, it was all through farmlands. It was like small town USA with all we did it in the fall, so all the fall foliage. It was absolutely gorgeous. And then we went up to Watkins Glen, did a beautiful gorge hike trail where we went by 17 or 19 actually waterfalls. And then we had lunch up in the Finger Lakes region. Um, Absolutely beautiful area of the country. If I was not a runner, I would have probably never.
Go ahead.
All right, and that's my take on my five favorite running travel destinations. So I'm going to send it over to you for the last two.
All right. Well, thank you. And we're back in business. We had a little hiccup there with the Zoom camera app or whatever, but it's a work in progress still, so we're gonna get there eventually. With number four, I'm gonna just finish off with or four. I'm gonna do San Diego, California. Who can't beat 70 and sunny all year round? It's hard to beat that. Um, People were just seemed a little bit more relaxed. I think it's more that California vibes or feel to it, which not really the biggest fan of the state of California. I mean, Los Angeles, I not it's not where I want to be, I guess. I was able to go up there and play some golf, but I prefer definitely the San Diego area much more. The food scene, they got a bunch of great Mexican food. The golf, I was able to go play golf at one of the top courses in the country in Torrey Pines. It is the host of U.S. Opens, and Tiger Woods has won there on multiple occasions. So I got to play where the greats played. I was able to hit a great shot. If you haven't seen it on my video or my Instagram or whatever, I was able to get one of the guys I played with film me on the 14 par 3. It was basically directly downhill. It was one of the neatest courses I was able to play. Kind of like a link style course, but definitely a neat experience and definitely highly recommend. Also was able to travel up to Carlsbad, which is just north of San Diego and La Jolla, and play at Aviara, where the LPGA plays some of their tournaments there every year. One of the most beautiful courses I've ever been able to play. Uh, Fairways were just lined with flowers and waterfalls all over the course. Really neat. Um, and Scotty Cameron, who make the putters, the Scotty Cameron putters, is a member there. the guy that was in the clubhouse actually mentioned to say, I just missed Scotty Cameron. He just left once I got there. So that would have been kind of neat to be able to pair up with one of the best putters, or the best guys, or the best putter producers out there. But number four, that's got to be my number four. At number five, I wanted to put this higher, but there was just so much walking, and it was just all walking. And obviously I had traveled across the pond again. I made it over to Rome, Italy. It was probably my favorite. If you know me, Italian food's probably my favorite cuisine. I love Italian food, and Romans they do it right. But it was just all walking, hilly, very hilly, nonstop. But the history behind it was totally worth it. I definitely highly recommend anyone that hasn't been over um, to Europe or in general Italy. That would be probably one of the coolest things from the Colosseum to the Pantheon to everything that the city has to offer is just definitely wear comfortable shoes if you ever do make it up there. But yeah, I wish I would have gotten maybe a tour guide when I was walking in the Colosseum because it was just so much to see. I didn't really know what I was looking at, but definitely next time I'm out there, I might try to get a tour guide. I was able to make it to the Vatican too, which was one of the coolest things. Again, I'm walking around there. I wish I would have got maybe a tour guide for that as well because all the art and everything that's in there is just, and statues and everything. It's pretty incredible. And you weren't able to get a picture of what is it again? I'm drawing a blank on the ceiling.
Oh,
Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel.
the Sistine Chapel.
But that was one of the neatest things. And I know you and mom probably would really love to go see something like that. I mean, all of that whole Europe trip that I did. But with that being said, I think Rome's got to be my number five. It's got to be in there at least. It was just one of the more unique places I've ever been. Didn't really know much Italian. Wasn't sure what kind of money I was spending because it's all in euros. I didn't know how much a cup of coffee was. I just handed the guy some money, and I didn't really know what the rate was going for the US dollar. But at the end of the day, I had a great time and then made it my way back after Rome to the United States and had a blast. Um, so those are kind of our top five travel destinations for this episode. Next week, we'll do something different. I don't know if my dad will be on there or maybe if anyone's watching this, someone else wants to be a guest and we can kind of go back and forth. I might be able to get my father on there maybe once a month. Maybe we can make it a thing where it's the first Monday or Tuesday of every month, we can get him on there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, or we'll see if he wants to come back. I'm not sure. But with this being a golf focused sports kind of podcast, I do want to kind of incorporate some of that. I know I've talked a little bit about it before, but I do want to get your take on it too. I do want to see with the Open coming up in Northern Ireland at Royal Portrush. I do want to get who you think will be your winner and give me just a top 10 player or a top 10 guy that will make in the top 10, your thoughts. And then so the listeners out there can go put their money on our takes, on their sports betting apps. So yeah, I'll let you go first and then I'll say mine. And then with the All-Star game as well being here, I want you, or tonight, I want you to say your MVP. I don't know, this might be posted after the All-Star game, so we might look like idiots saying who we think is going to be the MVP and it being out already. So don't bet on that one. At least you can maybe go put your money on some of our takes on the golf tournament this weekend. So I'll let you, who do you think who's going to be your winner in this weekend's Open?
Well, I guess I have to go with Rory just because he's Irish and he's sort of playing in his the home area, I suppose. I haven't played golf in probably 40 years, but I think every weekend I watch golf every weekend.
Yeah.
So you probably know the players a lot more than I do and better, but I do follow golf, and I'm just going to go with Rory just because of where
Oh
the
yeah.
tournament is. And for once, a top 10 guy, I'd like to see come in the top 10, who seems to come in the top 10 a lot, but
I know
can't
where this is
win.
going. I know where this is
Yeah,
going.
no,
Yep, yep.
I love my Tommy Fleetwood. I kind of hope he does real well this weekend too. And of course, I'm rooting for all the Americans, and I picked two guys who aren't from the United States. But golf is kind of like that. Everybody seems to root for everyone out there. So I'm going to go with Rory, Tommy, and the rest of whoever wins. It'll be a fun time to watch. You just got to get up earlier to see the ends or the
Absolutely.
entire tournament.
So yeah. I mean, can't go wrong with Rory. He just came in second in the Scottish Open this past weekend, and Tommy Fleetwood, a brutal loss a couple of weeks ago in the Travelers against Keegan Bradley, which is kind of giving me the chills now because the Ryder Cup is coming up here in Bethpage in a couple of months, and with Keegan being the captain, and Fleetwood, I'm sure we'll make that European team too. So that'll be definitely a good finish here. But I do want to hear your take on who's going to win the All-Star game tonight, AL or NL, and then MVP of the game, if you have any takes on that. So just out of curiosity, because like I said, I just want to try to get a little sports betting
Sure.
on each episode.
Oh, ironically, Mom and I were in Atlanta last weekend, and the entire town of Atlanta had, all we saw is all-star
Hmm.
stuff. And we were able to go by the stadium and see the stadium. It's a gorgeous stadium up in northern Atlanta area, Marietta. Um, I am just going to, the easy the easy answer would be a Shohei or something like that. However, in these kind of games, you don't know how long some of these guys are going to
Yeah,
play. Shohei may just play one inning, and that's it. It's not like they're going to play an entire game. I'm I just because I like to say this nickname, and
I knew that.
everybody knows who it is.
Yeah,
And who did win the home run derby last night? I'm going to go with the Big Dumper, just because
yeah.
I
No.
just want to say the words.
Yeah,
And
no, I
so
can't go wrong with that.
yeah, so I'm not that. Of course, we grew up in a National League city, and rooting for the Cardinals all the time. It seems like the American League always kind of has the one up on the National League in the All Star game, but you just never know how long some of these guys are playing, and the pitchers may just go in for one guy. They may just pitch one inning. It's not like yesteryear when some of the guys pitched 3 or 4 innings in an All Star game. So um, I'm just going to go with uh,
Yeah,
Cal Raleigh and
absolutely.
as my MVP.
Sure. And American League winning it, I guess.
Yes.
Very nice. So yeah, I mean with the then I'll just move on to my top or my winner and top 20 or top 10 of the Open this weekend. It's Rory's obviously an easy pick, but I do want to kind of go off um just as someone that you might not think of, or he's definitely a player that you think of when you think of major championships. But I'm gonna go with the Spaniard, John Rahm. I know he's a live guy. We don't get to see him much, but for whatever reason, I've seen watching him play a lot lately. He's definitely been playing well on the live tour. I've been, for whatever reason, I was able to kind of meet him at my employment, my work, and he seemed like a really good standout guy. So, with that being said, I think John Rahm's going to pull one off this weekend. And then your top 10. I wanted to go with Tommy Fleetwood too, just because, he's so likable and everything. But I'm gonna get like a Xander Schauffele. I got to stick one American in there. We have three Europeans, and I got to have an American in there as well. So we'll see how he pans out this weekend, or even maybe a Matt Fitzpatrick. I know he's played rough this year, but it is on that side of neck of the woods, so it's on his English. I know it's not England, but it's the UK, and he plays really well in that kind of weather. So we'll see what this weekend brings. And to tap in with the All-Star game, since you went all AL, I'm gonna have to just go NL, and I think the NL is gonna win, I guess, and then we'll go with just because of who he is, and he probably won't pitch more than an inning or two. I'm going to go with the NL starter and Paul Skeens. Just because if he throws two scoreless innings or even one scoreless inning, they might just give it to him because of who he is and how he's performed all year. And, he's got his little, he's just Paul Skeens. He's the top of the line pitcher. And, I'd like to see if our lone Cardinal, Brendan Donovan, can get out there and get a hit or two. It'd be really cool to see him, because Cardinals are never loaded up with all-stars. I don't think they have been since like early 2000s, when Pujols was the man. But so yeah, I guess I'll go National League and we'll go Paul Skeens, and you got the big dumper in the American League. So with that being said, I do kind of want to end this little podcast. Thank you to my father. And if you could go out there and follow him at his Instagram page and YouTube. And I know he's kind of in the beginning stages, just like myself, but I will tag him. I'll post it here in the video, or I'll post it in a link below. We're still figuring out how to do that, so hopefully it gets on there correctly. But that is the end of it. So thank you for joining me, Dad.
Yeah,
And
well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope I didn't drive your viewership down.
oh
Listen,
well,
listening to me blab for a
no,
while.
it'll be okay.
I should have brought Riley up here.
Yeah,
I
as I
think
say,
I
we have
heard
our.
her barking outside, but I think you might lose all your viewers if there's a big black
Oh,
lab kind
I
of
think
destroying the my set.
I think if Riley came on here,
Oh,
I think we'd be okay.
I don't know if you could hear her barking down there right now, but she's
No,
downstairs barking right now.
yeah,
So
it's
thank
because
you so much for having me, and I hope we can do this maybe on a monthly basis. That sounds fun.
yeah, we'll try to do something like that. All right, well,
All
thank you.
right.
Bye bye.